privacy.
Participants here.
I love to see that. I love to hear that. This is all about community. So maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, we got together and we said, you know what? We need to talk to all the other medical schools in the state of Arizona because we're all trying to do the same thing, which is increase those pathways for young people to come to our schools. And so we got around a table and we got with all the osteopathic medical schools, and you'll learn a little bit about that, all the allopathic medical schools in the whole state. And we said, let's come together and let's work together to do something that is really in the interest of all of us. And that sort of started the formation of this event here today. So this is the second annual Black Men in White Coat Youth Summit that we're hosting here in Arizona. Round of applause for that. We're usually a little competitive with each other because we all want the best students. We all want everybody to come to our schools, but it's more important for us to work together. And so we did that, and we have all of the osteopathic medical schools, all of the allopathic medical schools represented, along with our very important partners with the Central Area Health Education Centers, a very important partner with us to help us bring this all together. And really what it is just to be able to have you all experience and hear from folks who are in the healthcare fields, who look like you, who come from the same backgrounds as you do, who can really connect with sort of the different walks of life. And I know that's really important because how many folks in here will it be, maybe you're gonna be the first person in your family to graduate college? Raise your hand, right? That was me. That was me. First person in my family to graduate college, right? And so it takes that first person to be able to inspire those who are coming behind you. Now I have a nephew who's finishing up at UCLA and he wants to go to medical school, but it has to start with somebody. And I think it's going to start with a lot of the young people here with the support of your family and your friends. And I'm just really excited to be a part of this. And so again, know that all the medical schools in the state of Arizona are working together so that we can bring all of you all here so that you can have the tools and the insights that you need in order to find out what does it take to be in medical school, what does it take to go to dental school, what does it take to go to nursing programs, etc. Because we need you. We need you in these fields to be able to help care for the patients of folks here in Arizona. So with that, I just want to welcome you to today. It's going to be really fun and exciting, and I hope that you all have a wonderful time and connect with those folks, especially you see these folks with those white coats. Connect with them because they have the tips, they have the secrets, and they're willing and they want to talk to you. So thank you very much.
Let's give Francisco another round of applause. What he didn't tell everyone is that he'll be here half the day and he'll spend the rest of the day working on a grant to help students in this room. That's the work that's being done, that happens, that many of us don't know on our behalf, that is always being done. People are looking for opportunities to create pathways for us to have a better life. Our next person up, I've just met him, but I told him his barber is really nice. Salt and pepper and all that, he'll tell you about it, baby. He's the Chief Diversity Officer here at A.T. Still University. Mr. Gormore, I'm sorry. Mr. Gormore.
We just met, so that's okay. The name is Normore. I am Dr. Clinton Normore now, so thank you very much. I am an example of pathways. It's not always a straight line, but if you stay persistent, you'll get there. And that's kind of why we're here. To tell you a little bit more about A.T. Still University. We're the founding osteopathic institution in the United States, founded in Kirksville, Missouri. We have 3 campuses and a location. We have 3 campuses, campus here in Mesa, Arizona. We have a campus in Santa Maria, California, and we have a campus in Kirksville, Missouri. Our location is in St. Louis, Missouri. We have 7 schools in the health professions. We have more than 50 programs. We have more than 3,000 students and more than 1,500 faculty and staff who are all excited by the fact that you're here today. Leadership is powerful, it's paramount. The only way we can move forward in this journey and seeing you be the champions that as providers for future to come is having strong, courageous leadership. We have that at A.T. Still University. We have our chancellor, Dr. Craig Phelps, who's in the back of the room. He didn't want to come up front and stand up, but he has made it possible for us to have the kind of journey that we have and seen the kind of growth that we have in our university to attract, retain, and graduate people who look like us. We have deans, our dean of our School of Osteopathic Medicine in Arizona, Dr. Sharon Obadia, who has been a pillar in terms of providing access and opportunity. And that's the key, access and opportunity. That equals success. You know, we can do whatever we need to do. We just have to have the access to get it done. And it takes courageous leadership to do that. We have our dean of our Arizona School of Oral Health, Dentistry and Oral Health, Dr. Des Gallagher, who's also in the room. So these are cabinet members, senior leadership people who are fully invested in creating access and opportunity. And as Lucio mentioned, we are here and working together collaboratively with all of the comms throughout the state to make opportunity and access. So the pathway is not always a straight line. The dream is. And if you stay true to your dream, the pathway will show itself. You'll see that and hear that from everybody in their walk of life. I am so fortunate to be a part of AMCA, to work with these groups, to have you here. I am grateful for the fact that we have a planning committee. And I want to thank them. I want you to join me in a round of applause in thanking our planning committee. You are the biggest crowd that we've had on this campus in this type of setting. And we love it. Absolutely love it. That said, we have to acknowledge that there were first peoples in our land, right? So the work that we do in the Salt River Valley here for our Pima and our Peeposh is reflective of serving the land that we reside on. It's important. It's important to respect where we are, from where we come. We know this in our lineage. We know this as a people. But we have to appreciate the fact that there were other peoples here as well. So the work that we do now is not just because of us. It's to celebrate all those who came before us. In my fraternity, we have a saying, lift as we climb. So as we trudge this journey, remember, there are others behind us that we should be pulling right along. So next year, if we're fortunate enough to do it here or any of our other campuses, let's triple in size, okay? So thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you in all of the day's events. If there's anything more that we can do as a school, as people, please, please, please let us know. That's why we're here.
Dr. Normore. Apologies for that earlier. No worries. Thank you to the leadership here that you mentioned, right, with A.T. Still, of giving us this beautiful space, this opportunity. Thank you for all of the planning committee on behalf of all of those who work with you to make this event possible. Access plus opportunity equals success. That's what I took away. We're moving right along into our keynote speaker. So my wife works at the University of Arizona College of Medicine. She's the division chief of bariatric surgery and the vice chair of quality, I believe, or clinical. She's not here, so she can't correct me. She's a big thing. And so she told me that this brother was all right. I gave her the program a couple of days ago, and I showed her his name, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's who you got coming today." So he comes with high fanfare. He's well accomplished in what he does as an educator, as a health advocate, and as a clinician. He's smart, he's humble, he's energetic, he's a good man. I am excited to welcome our keynote speaker for this morning, Dr. Nafis Shamsuddin. Please give him
So I'm going to go ahead and admit that my biggest failure is technology, sometimes with presentations like this, so I apologize ahead of time. Can everybody hear me on this mic?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right. Dr. Kennedy, can I open my slide deck? All right. While I'm getting my slides out, I'm just going to say ahead of time that despite some of you probably don't believe it, I hate it has become one of the key parts of my job, but still every day that I have to do it, it's still like all right, we're gonna do this. And if you don't believe me, I was just checking my heart rate right now, it's like 110. So we're gonna get through it together, everybody. I just want to first take the opportunity here. It's an honor. And honestly, I don't even feel like I deserve it, because I feel like there's a lot of great people out there that could be standing up here talking to you guys. I'm going to do my best. It sounds like high expectations. Introduce myself. My name is Dr. Nafis Shamsuddin. I'm a clinical faculty at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Phoenix, at Baylor University Medical Center. That is where I was born and bred in my physician life. Went to residency there, fellowship there, and now obviously fellow faculty there. I am a pulmonary intensivist, which is basically a doctor that does lung medicine, and then I take care of the sickest patients in our hospital who are fighting for their lives. It's a calling that I love, and I love being an educator to bring in the next generation of folks who are going to do what I do. I'm also our fellowship associate program director for our program. Basically, that's the person that helps train in the next set of lung doctors, and so that's another love of mine is education. And just recently, the university had a wild idea of giving me an opportunity to be the assistant dean for admissions at the college. Thank you. And I hope it's because of the university's mission towards inclusiveness and the work that I've done as our director for GME Diversity at the hospital. And so, thank you guys for having me. We'll go ahead and get started. Actually, let me get my notes out because I don't have to notes on me. Told you guys I was going to have some issues with the technology. All right. So, this. Let's go ahead and get started. Told you guys. So we'll skip those first two slides because they're probably not going to pop up for us. And so this is a picture of me, and my beautiful wife, and my son, who's actually back there resting right now. Taj. He was, I think, one when I graduated from medical school. This is me at my graduation. A very proud moment for myself because I never saw myself as ever getting there. And so today I'm going to talk to you guys about a lot of things. I'm not going to talk too much about medicine actually, because I think there's a lot of great people in the room and hopefully out there. They're going to talk to you guys about that. I'm going to talk to you about some important things that I use to get to where I'm at, and those are resilience, purpose, and legacy. And so those are gonna be the themes that you guys will see throughout this presentation. I know we have some younger kids. This was one of the fears I had in doing this, is that I'm used to talking to adults. And I had to remember that, okay, I have a younger audience today, and so if you guys don't know what those words mean, that's fine. I wouldn't have known what they were either in your shoes. So basically, I talked to my son last night, and I asked him, like, how can I explain this to you guys in a way that you guys would understand? And how many folks in here play video games? Okay, me too. Me too. And so one of my son's favorite video games is Fortnite. How many of you guys play Fortnite? A lot of you guys. I do not, or at least I only play when my son invites me to play because I'm not very good. I'm giving points to the other team all day. But he explained to me in terms that a person who plays Fortnite would understand. And so resiliency is like having a whole lot of big pots in your inventory, and your enemies can't kill you because you have too much health and too much shield. He said that if we were going to describe purpose, it's like having a hacked map where you can see everybody, every enemy, every ally, and all the OP weapons on the field, so that you have an advantage over your enemies. And he said that legacy is like having a leaderboard that you inspire other players to want to be as good as you are. And so hopefully that helps you guys understand what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to try to get through this in the 15 minutes I was given. I think if you guys had Dr. Wooten here before, I know he didn't finish in 15 minutes. I can say that because Dr. Wooten was actually my pediatrician way back in the day, and so I'm going to try to get through it as fast as I can. And so we'll go ahead and move on. Throughout this slide deck, I'm going to tell you guys some stories about my life. There's some really personal pictures in here, so please, there was no Instagram filters or anything. It was just as we came. And so I just wanted to tell you guys about my starting place. So the first white coat I ever wore was a white tall tee. I don't even know if the kids in the room probably even know what that is. I don't think they wear them anymore. But basically, that was a very large. I remember one of my friends in high school. She did not understand the culture at all. She's like, "Why are you wearing a T-shirt that looks like a dress?" And I tried to explain it to her, but honestly, I probably sound as bad as I would be talking to myself today because she didn't understand. But basically, this picture is to show you guys that everybody that you guys are going to meet today that you think are in some high place of power or accomplished a bunch came from somewhere humble at one point. In this picture, I was just graduating high school, getting ready to go to college at Walmart buying school supplies. And at that time, I did not think I would be here in front of you guys today, having this opportunity to talk to you all. I did not know that I was going to be a doctor. I did not know that all the things that I was able to accomplish were going to happen. And so I think you don't have to know it all right now, or it might seem really far off of what you're trying to accomplish. But if you stay in your purpose and you stay in your vision, eventually it all falls into place. And I think someone said something about pathways. It's a circuitous, sometimes route to get to success. It's not always a direct one. And so I want to tell you guys a story about when I was at Arizona State University that kind of gives you a theme of why I think it's important that we do things like this, which is, I'd gone to the University of Arizona, the Arizona State University, now University of Arizona, and I had picked the most medicine-sounding major I could pick, which was medicinal biochemistry. I didn't know what that was, but I just said, that sounds like something a doctor would do in undergraduate. Loved it and actually did pretty well. And because of that, I got to be in spaces with other students who were going into medicine, and finally made that decision that that's what I wanted to do. And so I sat down with my health advisor at the time, and I'm just going to put his name out there because I hope if he's still there, none of you guys end up in his office. His name is Philip Sharp, and this is what he told me. I came to his office asking, like, what should I do? This is my third year. I want to apply to medical school. Like, how can I make my application more competitive? And he said, well, I think that there's a lot of things in here that are probably not competitive, and I think the best bet you have in getting in is that you're black, and maybe somebody will give you, a scholarship because you're African American. No lie. Wow. And that was despite the fact that at the time I had a 4.0 GPA, that I was doing one of the hardest majors at the university at that time. I was a Moore Scholar, Barrett's Honor Scholar, and a lot of other things that he could have highlighted, but that's what he chose to focus on. And for me, that told me I don't belong here. That told me that I don't belong here and that I'm not going to make it. Like, even if I have the grades or whatever, this is not a profession for me. And so I tell you that story because you're going to have people probably in your life. It might be teachers now. It might be adults later in your life that are going to tell you you don't belong here, but I'm here to tell you that you belong here, and if you come to apply to my school, I want you. I want you. But it's not an easy road. I think, we need to acknowledge that this road to medicine is a long one. It took me 14 years of training to get to my current faculty status now, which sounds like an enormous amount of time to spend in school, but honestly, it's worth it. It's worth it. Every day, I thank my younger self for having the resilience to stick with it and do what I had to do, even though it was hard, even though it wasn't fun, even though I didn't go to the parties that I could have gone to, even though all my fraternal brothers, anybody out there from the great Phi Beta Sigma Incorporated, Blue Phi, they were doing other things that I wanted to do, but I had to study. And so we do need to acknowledge that. This slide in front of you guys is a bunch of pictures from my youth, just to show you guys just the humble beginnings. The man that stands in front of you, those dirty socks are mine. Those are mine. Those are my siblings in the car here. I don't remember where we were going, but that's my two brothers and my sister. And then we're in a bounce house, I think, somewhere in that upper right-hand picture. Basically, I'm telling you this, showing you guys these pictures because I think, we start somewhere, like I said, but these experiences that we go through are actually what build us up to be the success that we ultimately will be. So meaning some of the hardship that I went through in those pictures, I don't remember them anymore, helped me be resilient when I ultimately went to undergraduate, went to medical school, like, oh yeah, I know how to follow directions. I know how to say yes sir, yes ma'am. I know how to do work, I know how to work hard. Thankfully I had really amazing parents who instilled that in me so that I could do the things that I need to do. And I think, I'm just looking around the room at all the advocates here, and I just want to give them a hand for being here for you guys. And so, we need our advocates. These are the two most important women in my life. That's my wife. We met in high school. We are still married to this day. That is my mother. As young as she looks like my sister, but that is my mother. In that right-hand picture there. And I show you this because we do need our cheerleaders. This is an extremely difficult road to walk, and we all will get weary at some point along it. And if you don't have those folks in your corner that are going to push you to be better than you think you can even be for yourself, we're going to fail. And so I see a lot of advocates in the room. Look to those folks for strength when you don't feel like you have it for yourself. And when you want to fail yourself, find those people who won't let you fail yourself so that you can be the person that you ultimately are meant to be. We live in a world right now that is extremely uncertain. I think we don't have any more time or energy or bandwidth to have anybody who doesn't reach their greatest potential, especially in our community. And so we can't have people not reach their potential. And so find those people that are going to help you reach that. This is the only picture that I could find of my parents together before they split up. And it's really crazy to look at them because they're actually younger than I am in this picture. But I wanted to show you this picture because ultimately all the things that we become were because of the resilience and struggle of the people that came before us. If my parents didn't do some things that I never had to face because of the resilience that they had, I couldn't be the person that I am today. And I think we have to recognize that. So I'm going to give another big hand for the folks that are in the room. I think we have to remember that we are the product of the survivors, the folks that got through the hardship, that made it here so that we could be here. And that's greatness. We all come from greatness. I want to show you this newspaper clipping, which is from May 25th, 1983. And you see the circled person there that's on the right. And so it's Arizona's most influential blacks. That is my grandfather, rest in peace. Imam Abdur Rahim Shamsuddin, a great community advocate in this community, and a huge set of shoes, loafers, to fill. I grew up my whole life meeting people I'd never met who knew who he was and said, I think, man, you're going to be great because of who you came from, and I know your grandfather. And when he passed, he had to be 1,000 people at his funeral. Because he dedicated his whole life not to build himself up, not to amass an enormous amount of wealth, but to build up his community. And that really inspired me to want to do something of the same. And that's been a crucial part of my vision for myself as I've built the career that I've built. And I want to know that you guys have folks just like this. Ask your grandparents the struggle that they went through. They may not look like they have a whole lot, or they might not be physicians, but they probably came from something way more humble than they are doing today. And the fact that you guys are in this room is a testament to that. And so ask them their stories while you still have time, because I'm glad that I know his, because it definitely inspired me to know that I can do this. This is my other grandfather, Ernest. He is still alive, still with us, still an inspiration for me every day. He still, to this day, calls me time to time just to give me words of wisdom and to help me along my path. He is a testament to what I'm saying, which is that you never know, like, just the simple beginnings of the folks that came before you. My grandfather, if you knew him today, is an extremely articulate man. He started multiple businesses. He's raised 9 successful children in his lifetime. But he came from a small sharecropping farm in North Carolina once upon a time. He was barely literate by the time he dropped out of school at 9th grade. He and his family were constantly terrorized by the KKK back in the day, and he tells me stories still about those times where the white owner of his land, who was an advocate, used to come out on Sundays to stand on the porch so that the folks would just continue to drive by. Those are things I've never had to face in my life because of the things that he did and the things that he built. And so still to this day, I look at him as a second father, a second role model, and without him, I would not be here in front of you guys. This is a picture of 4 generations of Shamsidines. The man all the way to the left is that grandfather I told you about at the beginning, who was in the newspaper that I showed you, and the man in the back in the purple shirt is my father, Darian, and then those are my 2 brothers, and then that's my son, who's in the back. This is, I think, orientation, I think, for medical school or something like that. It was like one of the first sessions that we had, and they were all out there to support me. And I think it was my wife that took the photo that was like, we got to capture this moment because you got 4 generations of greatness standing here. And I'm so glad that I still have this picture. And I share this for you guys because generational wealth and generational success takes generations. And maybe the generational building that your family is doing just started a generation ago. And so you are one step closer to that glass ceiling that's going to be broken. So we need you. We need you to be your greatest self. And without those trees that my grandfather planted, I wouldn't have shade to rest under today. And I still tend those trees to this day so that I can hand that off to the next generation behind us. Purpose is a team sport. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself, and I please don't take this. Please don't snap any pictures of that picture on the left. I just want to let all of you, just take a break from the presentation role for a second and just talk to you guys. There's a lot of publication out there, and these pictures are going to be around forever. Like, this is not on the internet anywhere, but now it's out there. We thought we were hot stuff. This picture on the left is me and one of my best friends, Corey. We were 2 of the only black students at our high school, and so found kinship in that. 2 of the only black young men in our neighborhood, and so our families definitely spent a lot of time together. And we both told ourselves back then that we wanted to be something, that we weren't going to fall into a statistic, that we were going to work hard and we were going to do what we do. And he is now a successful businessman and probably makes more money than I make. And obviously I'm here talking to you guys. That picture on the other side is my other best friend. His name is Caleb Taylor. He is a pulmonary intensivist right now in Texas. We went to medical school together in undergrad. And I'll tell you a story of how we met. Basically, he was also one of those kids who said, I think biochemistry sounds like a really medicine-sounding specialty or, undergrad degree. And so we met up at our first chemistry class, just waiting outside the door, anxiously to go inside. And as you can tell from that picture, this is at his wedding. He's wearing a mask. He's a character. He definitely is the bad one of us too. I'm the voice of reason. I'm always like, I think we're going to get in trouble, and he's like, I think we're going to be fine. And he comes up to me with this big grin on his face. He's like, hey man, I'm just looking around. We're the only two black guys going in this class. We basically have to be friends, right? And that was the birth of a beautiful friendship and probably one of the most influential men in my life. He taught me a lot of lessons. I hopefully taught him a lot of lessons. But we still keep in contact to get today, and it's just serendipity that we ended up being the same specialty even. We were two of the only black students at the University of Arizona College of Medicine in Tucson, which thankfully has changed dramatically since we went there. And so just testament to the progress and the process that's working right now. But I show you these pictures to show you that you need people around you. This is a team sport. You need those folks that are gonna push you, those people that aren't just gonna let you fail yourself. Those friends that can identify with the struggle that you went through and can be your strength when you don't have it. And I thankfully have found amazing men in my life that have been that for me. This is a picture from one of my best friend's weddings. His name is Cedric Phillips. He's a VP at Border States Electric, which is a large distribution company. They put all the electric in our hospital. Again, another man who makes probably way more money than I do. Went to a lot less school. But just an amazing man who's made a lot of difference in my life. And all the men in this picture actually do. We are all from the great fraternity, the Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And we've been friends since undergraduate, when we never thought that we would be any of the people that we are today. We have one of the first black owners of an engineering company in this picture, Winston Engineering. We have a software engineer who's worked for Google, Zello, all the biggest companies out there, and we all just were like kids, like at school, not knowing what we're gonna do, but somehow we iron sharpens iron. We challenged each other. I didn't want to show up in that group and not be my greatest self because I know I was gonna be a clown. Like, hey, we have this conference that we're gonna go to, or we're doing this, and it's like, what are you doing? Nothing. Right, that wasn't acceptable. And so find that circle of folks that challenge you to be that great self that you can be. Surround yourself with people that make you feel uncomfortable, that make you want to show up better than you would if you were just on your own. Don't surround yourself with people that you feel like you're the strongest one in the group, because that's who's going to challenge you to be better. Not the people who it's like, yeah, I feel pretty comfortable here because I'm doing more than most people that I'm around. And so, hopefully we're doing good on time. Almost done. I want to share a couple slides about legacy. And so I think one of the fundamental changes in my life was the day that I became a father. And I have, thankfully, two amazing children. One is Taj in the back, who's 11, and my daughter, who's not here right now. Her name is Nyla, and she's 7. It gave me different perspective on what my purpose was and the cost of failure in my purpose. And if I wasn't willing to fail myself, I definitely won't fail them. And so every day I work hard. I be my best self so that I can be the best self to those kids who need me. And I know you guys are young, and most of you hopefully are not thinking about children. But find those other parts of your life, whether it's your mother, your grandmother, your siblings, your friends, people that you won't fail because you know that they believe in you and they've invested in you. Those people are going to drive you to do stuff that you can't even do for yourself. And these are pictures of them as they're a little bit older now. These are, I think, for my daughter's first father-daughter dance and her red dress, and then my son with me. We were at like a school Valentine's Day thing. You can tell these are newer pictures because I have no hair. For those in the room who want this magnificent beard, it comes at a cost. I can't tell you. You gotta lose some. But I show you that there are things outside ourselves that can drive us to do things that we didn't even know we could do. And these are two of my biggest inspirations here, and I really thank God that I have them because they are the reason why I can't fail. And not about the money, but I know we're all here to be successful. And I want to show you guys, this car that's on that left-hand side, that's what I drove when I was in college. And it probably had some headlights on it. This one doesn't. But I still remember that car, and it had a hatchback that I had to use an old rod that I found because the pressure in the trunk was gone. And so like, it was embarrassing, like picking up people and I'm like, hey, can I put something in your trunk? No, let me get it. Because you didn't want them to have to open it because it was like an old car. So it had like a steel hood. You had to have some strength to open it. But this is the car, that's my car now currently. And I don't, like I said, the great thing about greatness is that a side effect is success. Meaning, I had a great mentor down in Tucson when I was at school. His name is Paul Gordon in family medicine. And he told me that nobody in this industry is going to starve, no matter what you end up doing. You can serve your community, you can be primary care, you can do whatever you want to do. You're going to have enough resources to take care of you, your family, and more. And so if that's a worry, I think this is a field that you don't have to worry about. And so keep on rising. I think the fact that you guys are here, you're already on a trajectory for greatness. I think you have support. Somebody had to get you here. You have drive because you took out time out of your Saturday that you could be playing video games or doing something else, and you're here listening to me talk to you about medicine and the next steps in your life. And that's definitely something I wasn't doing in your shoes. So I think you're all ahead of the game. I want to leave you guys with a quote here, especially like I said, the times that we live in are trying, which is you don't need their permission, but you do need your own. And the they can be anybody telling you that you don't belong here, anybody telling you that you can't make it, anybody telling you that you don't have what it takes. You do. This whole life that you've lived has prepared you for this moment and for all the moments that are ahead of you. And so please, don't let the community down that needs you. Be your greatest self. Thank you very much.
Let's give Dr. Shamsuddin another round of applause. My wife was right. I take notes. So before we go into our panel, we have a break room upstairs on the second floor. Someone needs to take a break, etc. Our panel is going to be wonderful, and then it'll take us right into lunch. There is so much richness in that conversation, right? The sharing, I like to walk around a little bit, right? Let's do this different. It was sharing, it was purpose, it was passion, it was struggle, it was pain, it was family. Talked about the royalty in his DNA with his grandfather and the lineage that happened. It took me back to a place of, so I'm from Hot Springs, Arkansas. I'm friendly, I'm a handshaker, I'm a Southerner by trade, right? Nobody that you'll meet probably today hasn't been through some things. And I mean, really been through some things. I have the greatest mother I think that anybody could have. Pregnant at 16, had me at 17. I've never met my father to this day, no running water, till I was 23 years old. There's some people in here that's been through some things. So you may hear doctor and lawyer and fancy titles and all of these degrees. I stopped by to tell you it's been some people that have been through some things that have gotten there. Who knows who Steph Curry is? Oh, yeah. Ooh, got some hands. Okay, cool. Arguably the greatest shooter alive. Arguably the greatest shooter's ever played the game of basketball. Steph takes 500 shots a day, 7 days a week. That's 3,500 shots a week. 168,000 shots a month. 2.52 million shots a year. Steph has made 3,300 shots in his life to be the best shooter of all time. That's less than 1% of 1/10 of all the shots that he practices. Which that tells me, someone who's a little nosy, that the work that you have to do to be great will take everything in private just so you can show a little bit of it in public. Just a little bit. I've heard all the people that have brought us here, the advocates, the parents, the friends of the family, in order for our student population to be great. So please, take a little bit away from what we learn here today. Your gift in life is what you do best with the least amount of effort. Your gift in life is what you do best with the least amount of effort. My gift in life is doing this. I inspire, I educate, I empower. I don't have no bubbles in my stomach right now. I'm not nervous about the public speaking, right? Because this is my gift in life. This is what I do best. But if you ask me to go fry some hot chicken in some hot grease, like my grandma did, whew, well, I can't do that because that's not my gift. So you're going to learn today about people who are willing to share their gifts with you, and they're willing to see you inspire the best version of yourself while you go through the path of life to find your gift. We're not expecting you today to know your gift. We're just here to shine light that you have resources and pathways and people and institutions like this beautiful one here that is in place to help you find your way in life. This panel is going to be fantastic. I know it's going to be. So I'm going to introduce the moderator, Dr. Denaige Ward Wright, to bring. Again, if we have breaks, if we need a break, we have a room upstairs. This is going to be fantastic.
Sorry, I'm like a Aretha Franklin. I'm right there in my
Can you sing?
No. Good morning. Good morning. We have a fantastic panel with us today. I'll just introduce myself, short history. I'm Denise Ward Wright from Detroit. I trained in Detroit. I pulled up my Lions. I knew they could have made it all the way, but you know, a little bit of problems here and there. They're okay. And I just want to share a short story about my morning. I'm not a public speaker. I have a lot of anxiety, but that was making me anxious this morning. The past 2 weeks for a person, and I'm an associate chair of justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, those words that now have a bad connotation for the last few years. And all that's going on was making me very anxious, afraid. What's going to happen next? My husband, who's retired police, we were talking over coffee this morning, and I was telling about all these feelings. And he's a lovely man, but empathy is not his strong suit. And he says, what are you worried about? We are not going back. We are not the same people that got off that slave ship 500 years ago. We know freedom. We know power. We know success. So no matter what that people or things out there are doing, no matter what words they take away, we're going to succeed, we're going to move on, we're going to progress, because we're not the same. So go to your to the youth, because they're the ones, and he said, what's going to get us out of this mess is the young people. Not us old folks talking about this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's the young people. It's those toddlers, those kindergartners, those middle schoolers, those high schoolers, those who are going either to trade school or to college. That's going to make this world great. It's not us old folks worrying about things. So I'm just so happy to be here because I'm happy to be around young people. Keep me young because I've got some grandchildren. We don't need to go anywhere. So we have a phenomenal set of panelists. We have Dr. Stephanie Counts from Midwestern. Dr. Where are they? Come on now. We have Renee Crawford. Joanne Curry, Dr. Joanne Curry as well. Dr. Lila Hishaw, Dr. Chris Fuller, and of course, my brother from another mother, Nafis Shamsi-D. I'm not sure how the mic situation goes. let me know.
Brought my own.
How many more do you need?
No, I can pass, I guess, walk and pass, I can walk and talk, I chew gum at the same time sometimes. So I want them to introduce themselves, give a little bit of their history, give us a little story to get to know you, and then we'll go on with a few questions.
Well, good morning. My name is Stephanie Counts, and I'm an Arizona native. And I had a kind of a weird path into, I'll call it medicine, but I am a licensed pharmacist, and I have, this year is my 30th year as a licensed pharmacist. I have never worked in a Walgreens or CVS or anything like that. I graduated from the University of Arizona, and for my class, there were 2 people of color, myself and one other person. By the time we got to the 4th year, I was the only one of those 2 to graduate on time. I had a single mother who thought I would go into teaching, and I sort of did that, but my path led me to want to do more for my community. So I uprooted myself after I finished at U of A and moved to Richmond, Virginia. I've never been in the South, and I said I want to experience that, and I also wanted to have more opportunities with my own community. So I did 2 years of postgraduate residency, and I specialized in ambulatory care, and then got hired at the University of Oklahoma as an assistant professor. So I did eventually follow my mother into teaching, and instead of being elementary and a high school teacher, I became a college professor. So after that, I finally was able to get home to Arizona, and now I'm an associate professor with Midwestern University, and I'm a course director for the Clinical Skills Lab for the first-year students. So I have no breaks and I have no vacation because we're year-round, and I teach all 4 courses, 1 per quarter. But I had wonderful opportunities that I took advantage of, and probably my personal mantra is that, and it's probably the same as many of the people on the panel and some of you, is that once you get through that door, you don't turn around and shut it. You turn around and hold your hand and pull somebody else through. So if you want to call it a consequence of that, I've been Teacher of the Year 4 separate times at Midwestern University for students of all. So that's me in a nutshell.
I'll use this one? Yes. Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Renee Crawford, and nothing against you being at Midwestern, but I went here to A.T. Still University School of Osteopathic Medicine. I have my dean here, Dr. Obadia, and so it's so good to see different faculty and staff. Dr. Mawkins here, and then Dr. Normore, Dr. McGrew. Dean Lucio knows me because he's at U of A, and then I have Ms. Rondo over there from Mayo, because my story includes I did residency in pediatrics at Phoenix Children's, and I started in the COVID year, so it was a big transition for a lot of people, and so it's really good seeing all of these kids, all the people in the demographic that I treat, wearing white coats. Man, I need this photo so I can send it to Phoenix Children's to say, this is the future of who we're trying to get into medicine. Completed my residency and then did an out-of-training chief year, so I was junior faculty and did some teaching as well. And then I wanted to do allergy immunology, so that's how I matriculated into the fellowship program at Mayo Clinic. And so I'm kind of working my way around all of the Arizona schools. So I just think I've got U of A next, Phoenix, and then Creighton, and I heard ASU is starting up, so I'm just gonna make my way around. But a big thing about it is I grew up in Southern California, and in Rancho Cucamonga, that's the Inland Empire, also known as the IE, and I played college basketball. So I was a point guard, and I was a team captain my senior year. So I do believe sports do help enhance and help build translational skills that help you be a great physician, or in other cases, just a great, I like to say, a model citizen. of your community. So if you play a sport, now my mom's rules were I had to do my best in school. So even if I had a B+, I would be missing practice to try to get an A to get tutoring.
No, we ain't doing that. We're not doing
And she
that.
was on the coaching staff, so it didn't matter.
Well, you're
They
not.
knew where I was. And so I would say if you do play sports, stick with it. It will teach you how to take a hit. You fall down 7 times, you get back up 8. So very happy to be here with you all.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Christopher Polans. I am the chair of family medicine at Mayo Clinic, and I originally came from Illinois. I moved to Arizona. Chi-town people maybe. So I went to medical school in Chicago, and I had never been west of the Mississippi at that point in time. I had a cousin that had moved out to Arizona, and during one of my spring breaks during medical school, I came to visit him. And, you know, seeing stucco homes and people out in the park in January was something I'd never seen before. And so when it came time to look at residency programs, I thought maybe I would look at Arizona because it was a fit schedule, and it'd be something if I wanted to come back to Chicago and set up practice, which I thought I was going to do. There wouldn't be any losses here. And so I did a month actually at Mayo Clinic because they were the only program that had a 1-month clerkship during the time of the interview season. And so that's how I came out here. And so fell in love with the program, they fell in love with me, so I matched there. And my wife, who's my high school sweetheart, very close to her family, so I did not think that she would want to come back out to Arizona, but we actually found a great church family here, fell in love with the climate, and the rest is history. So I left Mayo Clinic from residency and actually worked for Brownsville for about 10 years. And then I went back to Mayo in 2013, and at that time I was just happy to be back at Mayo because all the resources, they put a lot into you as far as advancing as an individual. And so I was happy just to be there. And so the longer I was there, you know, people kept pushing me in the back, well, you'd be good at this leadership role. And I don't really like politics, and so I tried to avoid that like the plague. But the longer I was there, doors just kept opening up. And then in 2022, my chair was telling me that, hey, you know, my tenure is almost up. And so I think you may be someone to be considered for the chair position. And so looking at where I was in my career, I decided to just go ahead and put my name in the hat. I had no intentions to become a chair because dealing with him, I knew all the stuff that he had to take care of on a daily basis. But long story short, got all the way through the months of interview season, and the CEO calls me and says, hey, do you want to be a chair of family medicine? So here I am. I say that not to brag because, as Dr. Dean said earlier, we came from humble beginnings, and so there are many of my peers who didn't make it. Either they're dead or in jail or somewhere else. My parents are the main reason why I'm here. There were times, particularly my mother, who had to push me through the academic system that was really set up to make me be mediocre. And so she refused to allow that to happen. So when I would be getting straight A's in the basic classes, she would go to counselors and say, you know, why is my son not in honor classes? And so, again, peers that I had that did not have that, they did not stand a chance in that system. And so it's so refreshing to see these kind of pipeline programs here because exposure is everything. And so we will all are committed to helping out the next generation, those that come behind us. So I speak for all of us, we'll probably be around to answer questions that you may have. And the parents, thank you for showing up. You are important. They say that the days are long, but the years are short, and that is so true. It may seem like it's a lot, but the results and what you get out of it is definitely worth it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, there's definitely no other place I would want to be right now than a room filled of excellence and opportunity and possibility and hope. And that is what I see in each and every one of you here. And I'm so honored to be able to stand amongst my colleagues in this panel. My name is Dr. Layla Haishaw, and I think I'm the unicorn in the room because I'm a pediatric dentist. So who there wants to be a dentist? Raise your hand and, oh, yay! I knew I wouldn't have a lot of hands up, but I'm hoping by the end of today, I will spark that interest in the oral health profession. We'll be hosting a workshop on Find Your Groove at 2:30, find me there. But I wanted to share, yes, I'm a board certified pediatric dentist. I have been practicing 25 years. And in Tucson, when I opened my practice, I was the first woman to own a pediatric dental practice. And I was the first Black dentist to own a pediatric dental practice. That was just a short 2 decades ago, and that was the first. So we're still trailing, paving the way and being a beacon of hope for the future. My journey was going backwards. I did my residency in pediatric dentistry in San Antonio, Texas, by way of getting my dental degree in my hometown of Kansas City, so I didn't know if I should say, but that's okay. I know, we're still friends, right? But yeah, so in Kansas City, and then, when I think back, and I love this theme about our journey, finding our rhythm and resilience, and I think about rhythm, and rhythm really being like the heartbeat of our lives. You have a natural, repeatable rhythm, but when your rhythm is lost because perhaps you're losing your voice or don't have direction, then you start to lose a bit of that rhythm. And I knew from an early age, and reflecting back on it, that I was going to be a doctor, but it was because my mother told me when I was as young as probably this young gentleman here that you're going to be a doctor one day. And I understand why now. I was a single parent home. My 2 sisters and my grandmother lived with us. She stood in the gap as my mom was a teacher and worked two jobs in the evening. And she just wanted for me to have a life that I did not have to struggle. She knew that in healthcare, being a doctor, this was a job that will always be in demand because there will always be sick people. And so that was the dream I was chasing. But when I was in undergraduate school as a sports medicine major, I knew deep down in my heart that I wasn't going to be a physician. That wasn't my dream. And so my rhythm was found when I found dentistry. And dentistry is great because you're doing the same thing. You are helping others, you're changing lives, you're touching lives. But what's so cool about it, you're using your hands. So if you love art, you love creating, you create smiles, bring confidence back to people, you get them out of pain, you find disease. So dentistry is an awesome career in oral health profession. So I'm so glad that we've been invited to share our story, and thank you for having me here.
You guys have already met me, so I won't do too much of an introduction. I just have a couple words. Also, Arizona native, born and raised. Very proud of that as we continue to add more to our community and folks that come from different places. Just love this community and glad to see that there was a space for me to really give back to the community that I felt built me up. I wanted to say also that I am the product of a single mother household, but I don't want to take away from my father, who was a definite influence on why I was able to make it here, stayed involved and stayed engaged, even though my parents obviously were not together. Wanted to take a second to acknowledge Dr. Crawford here, who that you see on the side as a colleague, and in terms of having parents that really did not accept mediocrity ever. I still remember a day when I was meeting with a teacher, a 4th grade teacher, who thought he was going to give good news to my mother. He said, "Look, your son has a B+ in this class. He's doing great." She said, "Why does he have a B+?" And he was so confused because he's thinking like, "Oh, you should be proud of him. He's doing excellent work compared to, like you said, the mediocre standard that we have." But my mother said that he's not a B student. He's an A student, and I internalized that then, and really has become one of the drivers for myself as I continue to move forward. So when your parents are telling you that B+ is not enough, it's not going to make any sense because B+ sounds really good, but honestly, it's the A+ students that are making it into this field. And if your parents see that you're an A+ student, believe them. Believe them. And I'll just leave with a quick story this morning and how you have to adapt to be be flexible. My first white coat that I had planned on bringing today that I brought from work, washed, checked all the pockets, had a pen in it.
Oh, no.
And so my wife last night goes in the laundry because she's amazing, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to throw this in the dryer real quick?" And I said, "Sure." She goes and she's like, "Do you have another white coat?" And it's got pen marks all over it. And in that moment, I was like, I just want to quit. I don't even want to come tomorrow. This is just a prequel to how bad it's going to go. Again, the public speaking not being my favorite thing, and the voice in me is like, no, you're just going to get through it. So I woke up this morning early, drove all the way to my office in downtown, all the way back to the east side to pick up my son, and then all the way back here, and able to stand in front of you today. And so, when things don't happen the way you want them to, or when there's random roadblocks there, don't take it as a signal, say, I don't belong here, I shouldn't be here, but rather a challenge to be your best self.
Better? I don't know. Thank you so much. I want to give a chance to the audience to ask questions, but I have a question myself. I was a good student, not the best student, and I hear about all these, A's and getting that, which is great. School was hard for me. I struggled through. I did get good grades, but it was a struggle. Where do you find that resilience, that passion, when you know this is so hard, and how am I going to get through this? It was the same thing with me in medical school. I got to medical school, but it was so hard. And then when you're not quite accepted, there's no one around you that looks like you, no one to really to talk to about this struggle, it gets very difficult. So tell me about your own personal resilience, where you find that strength, and how can others get their strength?
No, thank you. Yeah. Well, resilience is a trait that you must learn how to cultivate and start now. You can't rely on resilience when you're in the point of the urgency and need and trauma. You need to have it and cultivate it as far as, one, finding those people who will support you and understand you and be your support system. But taking time really to be still and be with your own voice, to block out the distractions and all the things that are saying everything that you can't do it, this is too hard, and that you're gonna give up. But I would have to say that support system is the number one thing, but also really just as much as physical strength is so important, your mental strength is so important, and finding ways to really block out the noise, stick to your dream. The dream is what's really gonna keep you going, right? And what you have your purpose. So I always talk a lot about our assignment. If this is something that you wanted to do, to be a doctor or be in the healthcare profession, God put that seed and that idea in you, and that is something you have to hold on to. No matter who's gonna say you can't, or you don't belong, or I was only one of 4 black students in my dental class, but I knew that this was my assignment and nothing was gonna stop me. So having just that mental strength and just ability to do that. Yeah.
So like I had mentioned, my mom, she didn't take what I consider bad grades, but she was also knowledgeable of each child. So I have 2 older brothers. My dad's background is that he worked with his hands, blue collar worker. And so for my oldest brother, I didn't know this, I thought he was the smartest one of us. She would get frustrated because he only applied himself to stuff he was really passionate about. And so she would get mad because she knew how brilliant he was. My middle older brother, she was the one who straight up told him, see your way through. She said, you're gonna graduate high school. She said, I'm gonna go up to the school. She said, I'm gonna make sure you do your homework. And she got frustrated with him because he just didn't wanna do it. And so he was the one that she was like, okay, stuff would be taken away, it didn't matter. He was on punishment like 75% of his high school. And still would smile and go, it's all good over here. So in my case, I won't forget, I was in the GATE program, so I was in honors classes, and I had a C in geometry. My mom goes up and it's parent-teacher night. She goes, what's the tutor's name? And I was like, oh man, here we go. She said, you're gonna go to the tutor. And there's nothing wrong with getting tutoring. I had a tutor for math classes all through high school, and I ended up doing well with AP Calculus, so it worked. I looked at it from, and she told me this, and I won't forget it. She mentioned, she said, you have a trainer for basketball. You play against better players to get better. Just like the best tennis players have trainers, just like we just heard about with Steph Curry, LeBron, you see videos of people working with someone to get better. So I always look, she said, you work with someone who knows how to do what you're trying to do. You don't try to just do it on your own and then go, how did this happen? I tried it on my own, it didn't work. So then we had to go through the training. In college, I was taking organic chemistry. And this professor, my mom said, your grade is what in this class? She said, you about to go to that professor. What are his office hours? I met with that man 3 days a week. He and I became best friends because I was in his office. And I was laughing because I said, I know more about his research and all this other stuff. And it helped though because it forced me to buy into the concept of, you say you want to do this. I knew I wanted to be a doctor since I was 5. And it's one thing to say you want to do something, but when the going, you know, when it gets tough and you just get knocked down, you're like, well, I'm gonna give up so easily. Do you really want to do it? Or was it just nice because it sounded cool at the time that you were younger? And enter med school, Dr. Badia knows this because at the time she was the dean over our clinical science, for our rotations. So I was the last one in my class to sit for my first set of boards because each practice test, we had to meet a certain mark. So you had to pass the practice test by 50 points or higher. And I just couldn't reach that mark. And I was getting frustrated. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. She said, this is what you're gonna do. She's like, you tried this program, didn't work. She said, we're gonna have you do this other program where you're gonna go in person. So she's like, it doesn't matter when you start your rotation. She said, but you are going to pass that test on your first try. You haven't taken the test yet, you just done the mock test. So I go down there, I spent 4 weeks, and I'm just like, all right, take the practice test. I beat it by, I think it was 90 points. So then she said, you're ready to sit for the test. I take the test, pass on my first try. We're moving on, doing the different rotations. You do your test for each block rotation, your shelf exams. Get to step 2, and I told her I'm using the same thing that I did to study for the first one, and got through that the first try. Then in the third exam, you take it, you pass it on that go around. So I had a supportive cast in terms of faculty administration. I had supportive parents. And then I also had to dig deep down to go, I want this, so I'm gonna do every avenue they tell me to do to make sure that I can get through these mandatory things that you're supposed to do. And I didn't read this book until I was a med student, 3rd year. So you guys can write this down, Grit by Angela Duckworth. That is a book that I wish I had read when I was in high school. And it basically talks about grit is the power of passion and perseverance. So it's not just, oh, you have the ability to persevere. It's because you have that passion for whatever you desire to do. So because I wanted to play basketball, I put extra time in. I would get so many shots up. I would finish my homework, go outside and just shoot. I would ask my mom, can you take me to the gym earlier so I can shoot? Can you do this so I can do this? Can you do this so I can do this? My older brother was a great baseball player. He never asked my dad, can you take me anywhere? Can you do this? So my dad said he doesn't want it bad enough. So he didn't do it. He said, why am I gonna pay and you don't want it? And then my brother even said he didn't want it. And it's okay, you find out what you're passionate about, but what I like is, she said the great thing about parenting, and I look at it also from when you are a teacher of students, is you need to be demanding, so you want excellence, but you also need to be supportive. If you aren't demanding, you allow for mediocrity. You allow someone to pass and they haven't even had ability to read properly. But if you're demanding and you're not supportive, you're literally saying, I need you to meet this mark, but I'm not gonna help you get there. So you need to have both things, demanding and supportive, and that's how you reach your goals.
As I said before, I've had a bit of a different pathway. So I was an athlete as well, and I was actually a figure skater from Arizona. Yes, I did find ice. And there was a skating club of Phoenix, and I was 10 years old when I started. And I ended up representing the skating club of Phoenix at the United States National Championships by the time I was 19. And was the only one from Phoenix to ever go in the singles event. What it took to get me there was that every single day, 6 hours, 6 days a week practicing. It was doing the jump not just once, but doing it 10 times in a row, and if I missed it on the 10th time, I started over again at 1. So my mother instilled in me that kind of grit and perseverance, that 10 times isn't enough. It's 10 times that are done for me perfectly before I decided it was time, okay, I can leave the ice now because I've done my job. So the same thing applies towards schoolwork or whatever that you're interested in. You don't do it once, you do it over and over and over again until it becomes like breathing. When I look back on my pharmacy school days, the first 2 weeks I was an older student, and the first 2 weeks of school, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but first 2 weeks of school, I got home and cried every night, because I said, these people are insane. What do they want from us? But what I fell back on was that do the jump 10 times in a row, and you don't leave that seat until you got it, and you don't miss, and you have that concept down, cold, where you can walk in the classroom and say, I got it. Give me the test. Whatever you need to do, I can prove it. So I do rely a lot on my inner motivation to get through tough things, and then try to instill that in the students that I teach, that because they want to give up so easily sometimes, is that you have to dig deep when the times get tough, and I'm sure you've heard this before. But digging deep gives you that resilience. It gives you that inner fire that, you know what, it's all on me. I'm not gonna go down because somebody else says, oh, you belong over here, you belong down there. I'm gonna make sure that I don't care if I knock myself down or whatever, I'm going to get back up and I'm gonna do it again. And those are the things that your parents can instill in you. They're here to support you because they're gonna try not to let you fall. But if you do fall, you've gotta learn how to pick yourself up, because they're not always going to be there when you need that help. You have to build it inside yourself, that your own excellence is your driving force. That's all I have.
Thank you. Coming to you.
Go ahead and just compress. Bundle, lock your arms, and push. Push and hold it, and hold it, and hold it, and go. Alright, and then we'll have you pack. So we'll have you pack this wound. So start with one end and just start feeding it in there. Make sure you get both sides, push to one side, push to the other side. We're trying to fill all that space. All the space. Then once it starts to bunch up on the top, then you'll take the rest, put it over.
What's the first thing that we're gonna do before we start helping students? So you gotta pull down. Now what do you do? We need to call for help. That's the first thing to do. You call for help.
And that should be good. So the rest of it, just bundle and then push. Perfect.
Ask him to come and put.
All right. Then I'll have you put a tourniquet on. You can do my left arm here.
You're doing a great job, but it's still bleeding really bad, okay? So we're gonna start putting the tourniquet on.
Okay. Perfect. And then pull. Nope. Before you Velcro, pull it. So it's just like tightening a belt. Perfect. Now come all the way around. Stop there. Reset here. Twist it. How many times do you twist? That's right. We'll say it stops and then we'll hook it. Okay.
I'll tell you when to stop bleeding. No more tourniquet.
Right. Across.
Good. Hook it underneath.
Across. And then now what?
That's it, right? So I put this out. Oh, time.
Yep. Then you just write the time and